This is one of those stories that kind of comes out of left field and makes you go, wait, what? Huh? Am I reading this headline correctly? A former Playboy model, Kelsey Turner, charged with murder after a psychiatrist found dead in the trunk of her car. Is this reality? Is this real life? Did a Playboy model go crazy and ice somebody, a psychiatrist, and then dump his body in the trunk of her car? Apparently, that's kind of what happened here, at least according to this independent article, saying suspect's mother claims model had known this dude for a number of years. Well, I mean, in most cases where people are killed, you're killed more often than not by someone you know. So the solution to that, my friends watching at home, don't know anybody. That's the truth. But this is Kelsey Turner right here, just so you guys know. Now, a Playboy model has been charged with the murder of a children's psychiatrist after he was found dead in the desert just outside of Las Vegas. Yeah, because that's where you want to be found dead, right? Outside of Vegas, in the trunk of a car. And you're a children's psychiatrist. That doesn't, everything about that screams word right off the bat. Now, Kelsey Turner, 25, was arrested back on March 21st by FBI agents and Las Vegas police in Stockton, California, in connection with the killing of Dr. Thomas Burchard. The 71-year-old's body was discovered by police after they responded to a call about an abandoned vehicle near Lake Mead National Recreation Area. Now, the thing is, when you want to dispose of a body in a car, the idea here is, if you're going to abandon it somewhere, abandon it to where it's not going to be found. There's a lot of places in Nevada that a lot of people don't go because they don't, ever, it's Nevada. Outside of Tahoe, Reno, and Vegas, and Area 51, where the hell's there to go? Right? There's really nowhere to go. Oh, what? You want to go to the Sky Bridge overlooking the south part of the Grand Canyon? That's really just a tourist trap that's meant to suck your money dry. You could do that, but otherwise, take it out to the middle of the desert. Dump the body out there. I mean, literally, nature will take its course before anyone's going to be able to find it. But then again, 25-year-old former Playboy Playmate model probably doesn't watch any true crime shows on television, and that was her first mistake, or that ultimately was her mistake because they always omit a lot of details. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Now, when they opened the trunk of the car, they found Dr. Burchard's body inside. It was later determined that he had died from blunt force trauma to the head, and his death was ruled a homicide. The Metropolitan Police Department said in a statement that the investigation conducted by the LVMPD homicide detectives determined that 25-year-old Kelsey Turner was involved in the incident. It hasn't been made clear how authorities identified her as a suspect. Well, there's a number of ways this could have happened. For one, whoever's vehicle it was probably was the doctor's. They would be able to then go back and look through California Highway Patrol security cameras, like at certain junction points. They have security cameras that do scan license plates, or they're able to maybe go back and run a search to try to find it, or determine through a multitude of things, eyewitness statements or anything else, where exactly this car came from or when it arrived at its location. Also, if they were able to look into her cell phone number, they could have pinged it to any local towers, giving them a rough estimate about the time and location she would have been. I mean, there's a lot of little things that people always tend to forget about when they're committing these crimes. It's very fascinating, actually, when we start breaking down how police are able to solve them. But oftentimes, it's usually oversight by the criminal and in the attempt of a hasty getaway. By her driving this dude out to the middle of nowhere in in Nevada near Vegas, especially when they're from Stockton, California, does feel ultimately like there was, it was like, okay, if we dump him out here, no one will ever know. Well, they'll do it. Anyway, she had posed for Playboy in 2017, and in an interview with the magazine, she described herself as being impulsive, adding, "I love emotions and fun. I live my life fully aware that it's the only one I have." But granted, 2 years ago, she probably wasn't in the business of murder. Anyway. Now, her mother told the news that Burchard and Turner had known each other for years, and that Burchard paid the rent on the house in Salinas, California, where Turner lived with her mother and children. Now, that I think is a key takeaway here, right? Of course, we don't have motive or anything else like this that's been presented to the public at this time, but the 71-year-old was paying the rent of a 25-year-old former Playboy model at a home in Salinas, California, which is not cheap, by the way, where she lived with her mother and her children. Now, she's being held in the San Joaquin County Jail, where she waits for extradition to Clark County. Now, the likelihood of it is this. They probably are going to, that's where they found the body, so that's where the investigation is being held at. But the likelihood of the murder having taken place outside of Las Vegas is probably more likely, in my opinion. Now, it says here that Burchard had worked near Salinas with Monterey-based Montage Health Foundations for nearly 40 years in the medical's nonprofit behavioral health program. The spokesperson says that his murder is a very sad situation and that the faculty is providing staff with grief counseling. Well, yeah, there are psychiatrists there, so they're going to know how to do grief counseling. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get through here ultimately is that what you probably have. Now, I'm laying out pure speculation. I want that to be abundantly clear. But what my gut's telling me, what my spider senses are telling me here, is that Kelsey Turner, if she did in fact do this, probably did this as a way, as a result of the doctor saying, I'm no longer going to fund you. I am no longer going to pay your rent. Now, again, what would cause a 71-year-old psychiatrist of children to pay the high-cost rent of a former Playboy model for a home for her mother and her children to live in? Well, one could easily kind of connect the dots. And again, speculation, but still, one could connect the dots. 71-year-old man, young former Playboy model, in a relationship. It didn't work out. Maybe she demanded too much. Maybe he was, not getting what he wanted. Maybe something had happened. And then he ultimately said, listen, I'm not going to pay your way anymore. And because she'd become accustomed to that lifestyle, accustomed to that home, and not being able to actually afford the rent because she was a one-time Playboy Playmate model from 2 years ago, and not even that good of one from what I looked at. So there's that. Probably was freaked out, hit him in the head, killed him. 71. It's not like, young, and then drove him out there, dumped his body, and hoped that no one would ever catch on, and that maybe his automatic bank payment, automatically would still pay the rent every single month. If you want my honest theory, that's my theory. But it's a murder theory. No, it's just a theory. I don't quite know where this stands, but I find it to be fascinating nonetheless, because now we have to wait and see what the Las Vegas police detectives uncover, what gets unsealed when they formally charge her, and when they take her to trial over this, if they have enough evidence to convict, and is there going to be another person to play? Was there another accomplice that worked with Kelsey in order to help dispose of this body? And again, if you want my honest theory, probably, because she doesn't look that big. I'm sorry. She doesn't look that she's that big, and she is able to take a 71-year-old man and move him to the trunk of a car. I would argue that there is some physical evidence on his body in the trunk of his car that are going to lead to another suspect being arrested. And that suspect possibly could be the person that she was having relations with that ended up, taking her down this path, so to speak. But again, it's all speculation. It's all true crime. It's all theories.